In terms of Chinese homes, we see a great deal of variety. Now, I want to get to a little bit of the construction before we move much further. What you see in a lot of Chinese construction is the use of column and beam. So we have beams and struts running through. We have these pieces that actually run between the beams, lengthwise on the building, often called the purlin. And we see the use of roofing materials, allowing for a curved roof. This is actually a fairly efficient design for a roof. After all, it allows for rain and snow to run off the side of the building. It allows for heat to stay relatively low. And they're using the materials that they have on hand. Throughout most of China, that means they're using wood. Just like in other places, we would see the use of mud brick, or we would see the use of other materials such as adobe and etc. Now, one of the typical forms of the Chinese home is called the courtyard house. And what you're looking at is a fairly large residence built around a courtyard, although as we will see, these courtyards can definitely vary in size. Oftentimes, there's going to be a main hall, usually reserved for the eldest of the family. We're going to see the open courtyard, which allows for a lot of space, just like in the Mediterranean with the Romans, the Greeks, and others. That use of a courtyard means that I can claim space and use it as living quarters as long as the weather holds up. If I'm in far northern China, I'm probably not building in the same way that I might in southern China. The number of halls and buildings around the courtyard is going to be important for feng shui. And the use of the wall is going to be important because this is sort of a sense of retreat. It gives you a sense of passing from the rest of the world into this domestic domain, into a comfortable space. The entrance will typically be on the southeast corner, and as you look at it, these various buildings would be for different elements of the family, basically. So while the elder members of the family may have the main hall, we have 3 generations typically living in the same house. So you're going to have different people, different generations sometimes, living in large different elements. And in a farm setting, all of your farm implements, etc., are going to be stored here as well. In more urban environments, this may be open to shops and other buildings, just like we see today. Now, going back to the Han Dynasty, what we have is a tradition of spirit houses, houses that were built out of clay that would represent a house for the deceased. And these give us an idea of some of the architecture that we see throughout China when it comes to homes. And we see a lot of variation. We have massive homes. This is basically a middle class or fairly small version. Here's a much smaller version yet. And we see that courtyard as a key element in all of them. In this case, we have a round entrance. This is known as a moon door, and it's quite common throughout parts of China. And we see a multi-story structure, so a couple of stories, but these are still very small homes. That's why you want the courtyard. And that's why they're going to have some of the innovations that we see in furniture, as well as some of their ideas of decorating the home. In larger homes, again, much like that courtyard house, you're going to see homes with multi-stories, larger rooms, maybe more rooms, all depending on the socioeconomic status of the person living there. Now, at the poorest end, you would see something like this, basically a straw house. And this would work in parts of China. For example, farther south in China, where you don't have to worry about really, really cold winters. Now, is this that unusual? Not really. If you look back at Neolithic man, for example, in Northern Europe, you will see earthen houses and sort of mud houses built in Northern Europe. They're using whatever material is available. In this case, straw and grasses happen to be available, and it can build a small home for someone. In the urban environment, of course, these would be packed in. You would have usually multiple generations per home. Sometimes you would have multiple families per home.